Thank you very much for speaking with us today. My name is Eamon and I'm a student at the University of Arkansas. We're honored to hear your story. We'll begin with some biographical questions. When were you born?
So I was born in Tibet in the near Lhasa, 1917, and I born in the very small village. In my village, I think there are the 200 people in my village, and the near the Gandhi monastery. Gandhi monastery is one of the very important monastery, Giluk sect, and Lama Tsongkhapa. That's I was born. It's very close for in the Lhasa, also very close for monastery from Gandhi. Yeah.
All right. Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I also one brother, two sisters, and my young sister, she died, starvation, no food, because the Chinese undergone politics. That she died. But now I have two sisters, one brothers. Yes, three sisters, one brothers. Yeah.
Okay. How did your parents earn their living?
But my parents live in the village, in farmer, and near the monastery Gandhi. It's very, during 1981, 82, it's very difficult. My parents and the condition is very poor. It's very difficult. That's if they have live in the farmer, yes.
What made it difficult?
Because they have, it's the Chinese undergone politics. It's very difficult. They have refugee politics, Chinese. It's very so difficult situation. My parents is very poor, and the financial and all this. Even I have three sisters, one brother, but one sister died because they have situation is very difficult. She died, I think, in 1980. She died.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Did you attend school in Tibet?
Yes, I go 1 month school, Chinese school, in my village. But this school is they only teach Chinese re-education, communism, and they teach for Chinese language. And during that time, I go school. We must against for Tibetan culture, Tibetan history. But I don't know during that time exactly Tibetan independent country, because the school only teach their propaganda and the programs for the school. My parents, they know Tibetan history. They know the Tibetan also stories, but they can't teach anything. They are very oppressed Chinese government. If during that time, if parents they teach to the children and the Tibetan history, then they have very difficulty. They have so much. They make a big suffering. Sometimes they execute. That's it. They don't teach anything Tibetan history. That's the reason I don't know Tibetan before that time, 1980, 81. I don't know Tibetan. It's my country.
Wow. How long did you attend school?
Yes, I go only 1 month school. After they stop, because it's very difficult and our family situation condition is very poor. Then I stop school. Then I go all around for this Chinese restaurant, Lhasa. I want baking food for Chinese restaurant, and then I make a small and the business incense. This incense is selling small business, making buy some tea or some small better things. That's I'm making small business. Sometimes I baking Chinese restaurant. But there are many times Chinese restaurant manager they beat for me because I'm not allowed to bake in. But China said they come in Tibet. They said they're bringing liberation. They said they help Tibetan people. There's no help. There's nothing help Tibetan people. That's the reason Chinese illegal people come to Tibet. They come in dishonor this country. We have honored this country. We have very better this country, our own country. It's very difficult. That's why I go only 1 month school, then I stop school. I bake in food.
What sort of propaganda were you taught?
This Chinese propaganda they teach school, even not only school. Sometimes Chinese authorities come in our village. They give talk and some speech. The Chinese authorities, they said Tibet is not independent country. Tibet is proud China. And also sometimes we are against for United States politics. Also we are against for European political. Sometimes we are against for this Indian political system. They say China is communist political is one of the during that time they say in the best. That's they teach propaganda. Also they show movie, Chinese propaganda movie. If Japanese war and the China war, they make a Japanese army is very ugly. The Chinese army is very strong, like hero. That's they teach propaganda and the school. During that time said, and the Europe, American is like a paper, paper tackle, not real tackle. That they teach. Reality, not these two. The American also very powerful country, strong military on the population also very powerful, more powerful Chinese government than military also. That China they teach brainwash, they think they are very best. This they teach our village, yes, they talk.
Do you still have family in Tibet, and do you keep in contact with them?
No, it's very dangerous because I is doing many activity things here. I wrote book, and my books are all against for Chinese government. Right now I wrote almost 50 books, 50 books wrote. This is book all against Chinese government. Because the Chinese government, they wrote a history book, propaganda history. Also they making movie, documentary film propaganda. My books, 50 books, all against for there. Also I wrote one book, is named Hell on Earth. This I wrote my story. Because I'm more than 3 years in Chinese prison, I wrote this. This is one that very become a very success. That's the Chinese government, they know me what I'm doing here. Then they're very difficult contact for there.
Mm-hmm. What is your first memory of encountering a Chinese person?
Yeah, I was doing for first time I learned first Tibetan history. 1986 or 1987. 1987, I'm meeting 2 American tourists, my monastery Kantin. And these 2 American tourists come to my monastery. She speak Tibetan language. She said, "You know Dalai Lama?" I said, "I don't know Dalai Lama." "Who's Dalai Lama?" She said, "Dalai Lama, your leader." I said, "No, my leader Chami Mao." Then they come to my house. Then they said, "No, Chami Mao is very bad man." I'm very criticize these 2 people. But then this American lady, they managed. They give me book for mainland my people, Dalai Lama biography for Tibetan history. She said, "Dalai Lama, your leader, he live in North India, Dharamshala, and your government, North India, Dharamshala." That's I learned first Tibetan history. And these 2 American tourists, it's like my history teacher. They teach me first Tibetan history. That's I learned beginning Tibetan history for. Then I read, they also give me 25 Chinese money, Chinese yuan. It's very big money during that time. I buy some sweet things, then I buy one shoe. Then even I read this book, I'm really cry. I'm really very, very upset. Now I understand why my sister, she died, starvation, no food. Why Tibetan people very poor? Who is destructing this monastery? Why the Chinese deforestation Tibet? Why they destroyed? Why Tibetan people very poor? Why the Chinese rich inside Tibet? I'm really very, very angry Chinese government. After I read, these books make me big change. These books make my eyes open, my heart open. Then I have to do something for Tibetan cause. And then first night I wrote for Free Tibet, Long Life Dalai Lama. China, get out of Tibet, go home. We don't need you, no more here anymore, Chinese. Then I hang the poster everywhere in the street, even Chinese police office, authority office. And then we are meeting, special meeting, my monastery, some and the other monk. I give this book also other monk. I said, read this book, this country, our country, because Tibetan people, they recognize the monk is like a God. We have 3 gods, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Sangha is Sanskrit, like they recognize in the monk. Sangha is monk. Then I talked to other monk, I said, we have to do something now, our country for freedom. Then I doing the protest for 1988, March 5th in Lhasa, peaceful protest. Then China, they are doing really very terrible and violent. They kill many monks, they torture there many monks die. Yeah. Then they jail for me, the prison.
Do American tourists or Western tourists often act as history teachers in this way to other Tibetans?
Yeah, sometimes because I have during that time I'm meeting two American tourists, 1987. I think the 1987 and June I'm meeting those two. Yeah, this is the many Western people come to Tibet. They have also give for truth some and the books or some Dalai Lama speech and some teaching and the Dalai Lama speaking some Tibetan human rights things. This is the during that time we have not and the CD, but they give also this tape, video tape. And now they have give also the CD. They also memory. I think they also those tourists give so many information. Even that Dalai Lama picture, they give very small picture. They give those Tibetan young Tibetan people. Also they give some the books or they put a small the chips, the memory card. I think they also they give many tourists. Tourists 1980, I think in 1980, 81, 82, 83 beginning they come to Tibet. Those Western tourists they know forced Tibetan situation because there are lots of destruction monastery. Tibetan people very poor. They have very difficult life. They know Tibet. Those Western tourists they first they come also they many help. Then they wrote books during visit Tibet. Wrote books, make a documentary film. Then also they give for after they return their own country. Then they put in newspaper, local newspaper. Yes.
You spent 2 years in prison after they arrested you. What were the conditions in that prison?
Yes, more than 3 years in prison, not 2 years. More than 3 years in the Chinese prison. I was doing 1988 March 5th in Lhasa protest. Before we doing the protest, I give this book other monk. I said now, March 5th in the morning, the anti-Melon festival, the prayer festival. March 5th in the morning, 9 o'clock, I tell all monk, my monastery, I said all Tibetan country looking at us tomorrow. And the tomorrow, 6 million Tibetan people looking at us. If we not do tomorrow protest, we have very come a big guilty Tibetan history. And we have very shame Tibetan people. Because we have no wealth, we no children, we have single. Tomorrow we must do something, protest our country. Tomorrow in the morning, the last Malum festival, we have strong message in the world now. Because tomorrow, I said, we have only 2 roads. One road, we must die tomorrow. One road, we go prison. If we go prison, Chinese interrogation, don't give any people name our friend. This is, we must form a Dalai Lama picture front, Buddha picture front. Then we're doing the protest in Lhasa. And then Chinese are doing protest during that day. Chinese, they also during that time, March 5th, Chinese government, they use 355 police. They use Tibetan monk rope. This is very shame, Chinese government. China said we have very strong military, we have very powerful money, we have United Nations members, we have UN national, we have UN and the security permanent. What they're doing this? The monks rope, they use police, spy. It's very shame, Chinese government. And then that morning we're doing the protest. First, we shouting for long life Dalai Lama, free Tibet, China go out Tibet. Then we go around for Chogan temple. Then the Chinese start shooting. They have, I'm very close, one young Tibetan girl, they shoot his heart. One Tibetan man, Kompa Benjo, they shoot on the head, Chinese police. Then later, 3 o'clock, they shoot my leg. Also, the Chinese police come inside monk monastery, the Chogan temple. 11 years old monk, 10 years old monk, the rooftop, they throw those monks. They have broken, these young monks, they have broken some monk eye coming out. Every this Chogan temple areas bloodshed. The Chinese government said the Chinese soldiers for liberation soldiers, security soldiers. I don't think so. Chinese soldiers is butchered, murdered Tibetan people, those soldiers. During that time, Chinese person Hu Jitao, he is a chief in Lhasa. He also shooting Tibetan people, personally. He shoot. I see this man he shooting. This man Hu Jitao, Jiang Zemin is the Chinese president, former president before. They have criminal, they are dictator. They are killing many Tibetan, these two and the Chinese leader. Then 3 o'clock they shoot also my leg. Then next morning, and then after Chinese police hanging my picture everywhere. Evening, many people prison. Then there's some Tibetan help me take out my leg and bullet. And then after 1 month, and the women clothes, they put lipstick, put wig. I escaped everywhere. Chinese soldiers also come to my house because they're asking for me. Then one day I miss my mother. I go home, my mother's house. Then 1988, April 18, police come to my house. Then they jail for me. I have very small dogs in my house. They shoot this dog. What they doing, these Chinese soldiers? This is during Hitler army, World War II. They're doing the same to many people. They're shooting these dogs, very small dogs. They broke in my heart. I'm very, very criticized. Now I promise I never stop my whole life against for Chinese protest. Then they come to police, they put handcuff, and they take me in prison. And then prison really very terrible. It's not look like American prison, not like Europe prison. This prison is like hell, really. I want to go first time Chinese prison. Many Tibetans hang in the wall. They beat, very terrible. They tortures, and these people nose, mouths, everywhere complot. And I'm really very, very first time I go prison my life. Very scary Chinese prison. Yeah.
Was the facility just for political prisoners?
Yes, they have political prisoners. Then also interrogation. They said how much pay Dalai Lama during interrogation, how much pay Dalai Lama money, how much pay Tibetan government pay, how much pay American or how much pay Indian. We said nobody don't pay. We don't need to pay because we have doing our right, our justice. And then interrogation, then they put electric shock weapon, put our mouth, they put head, they beat everywhere, stick, metal, they torture. And then my nose, my eye, everywhere complot. Sometimes I'm no shoes, no socks, almost 4 hours in the eyes. Then they push up, my feet, skin come out. Sometimes they're smoking, they put a cigarette in my face. And they use stick, metal, everywhere they beat the Chinese police. Especially they beat for political prisoners because they need something information. We don't give any information because this is our country, Tibet. This is our right, our justice.
Why do you think Tibetan culture is so resilient in the face of such violence?
No, this Tibetan culture is really very peace cultures, and the base Tibetan culture is for Buddhism, because we have Dalai Lama, for leader for Dalai Lama. Before we doing this protest, the message for Dalai Lama in Tibet, they said Tibetan people not do stop violent, can't do violent, but we never do violent. During 1987, 88, 89, even 2008, we can't do any violent. We're doing peaceful protests. But the violent, they started Chinese government. They use soldiers and they shooting machine gun, they beat the Tibetan people. And that's because of Buddhist education. They give very good teach our memory, our mind. That's for especially also Buddha religious, Buddha Dharma, then also Dalai Lama, and these all kind teaching in the making very kind Tibetan people. And that's what we do in the peaceful protest. We never kill Chinese soldiers, we never hit Chinese people, we never burn Chinese shops. This is all the Chinese they're doing. Since 1988, March 5th, we're doing the protest, peaceful protest. We're doing peaceful protest. At the Chinese soldiers, they're killing people. Soldiers, they're making shops burn. And they're making Chinese TV, making documentary film, and they show Chinese propaganda TV. They said Tibetan doing violent. They said this is started Dalai Lama. It's not true. This is a very shame Chinese government. Even Chinese soldiers, they use Tibetan monk rope. They hit people, they beat people. This is not monk. This is all soldiers, Chinese soldier, police.
How many others were in your prison?
Yeah, during that time, many people prisoners, political prisoners. I go first time prison in the Gudza prison interrogation place. They have one room, I think sometimes 11 people, but they have many rooms. I don't know exactly how much people see this political prisoner, but all room is full. their prisoners.
What was the name of the prison?
The prison name is Gudza, fourth prison name is Gudza. This is an interrogation place. I stayed that prison 1 year. Later I moved in the prison, not the prison. This prison name is Drapji prison. Drapji prison, really very terrible prison. They have many Tibetan tortures. They kill the cigarette sometimes. Also, the prison, they come with Chinese doctors. They come with Chinese doctors. Each doctor, they also come police one day. Each people body taken 1 liter blood. Their blood transport to Chinese hospital selling. Also some Tibetan, they lost kidney transport. My friend, one monk, Pinzok, he also lost both kidney. This is they're doing the Drapji prison. Yeah.
What did you learn while you were in prison? Do you think it helped you?
Yeah, most we learn, and every day we read the Chinese propaganda newspaper. They're reading, they learn the Chinese propaganda newspaper, they're reading, then they against for Dalai Lama, against for the foreign country, that's because they support Tibet. And then that's we learn, but we not learn any Tibetan culture and the reading things. They only learn this, most they learn Chinese propaganda.
Mm-hmm. How did your time in the prison change you?
The change for me, even the prison really very terrible, very suffering. But they have changed for me because they every tortures, they beating, some they most time. And then they changed my mind. Really, I have never stopped. I've never gave up. This is also more coming energies for my mind. Then also, but sometimes they are very angry, but they torture. This is a human nature. If someone they beat, hit, it's coming angry. But main things, if we are Buddhist monk, we have practicing, we are used for practice for Buddhist technique, religious. Then they make me come. Then also making more strong under our mind.
How did you get out of the prison?
Yeah, I get out because the tortures Chinese prison. I'm really almost die. During that time, my body's almost 39 kilo, very skin. Then almost died. Then they release. They also Amnesty International helping for me, pressure China. Then that's the is making release. If I'm die prison, the human rights NGO, they also different and the NGO make a pressure China. That's the reason I'm released in the prison. And then, before I release, they are our friend. Each people, they give me 5 yen, 10 yen, the Chinese money. They said, you must go India. Join India, talk in the world, talk to Dalai Lama, talk to Tibetan government. You know this experience because you must go India and then talk also US government, also United Nations, European country. Thus they sent me these people. Then I released for after 1 month, I have medical and treatment for me. After a little better, then July 20, I escaped for India. I walked 3 months, Himalaya mountain, across India.
Was anyone else with you on the crossing?
Yes, we have 20 people together and all India now. But this journey is really very hard. Very high mountain, 6,000-7,000 kilometers, we go top. We have walked the most in the night. Daytime we stop. Otherwise they have Chinese soldiers, they live in Tibetan Indian border. It's very difficult in the daytime. Most we walk in the night.
What was your most lasting memory from prison?
Yeah, last my memory of prison really, my feet, skin come out, tortures, because during that time. Then also, my friend, many killed. This is I never forget. Stay here, my heart. Now most people die, my friend. Only stay alive. But these people, they not see Dalai Lama, they not see here. But now, I never stop because this is also making my memory, especially it's during 3 years in the tortures, the prison, and the really very terrible, and very terrible. They said they're liberation Tibetan country. They said they're half Tibetan. Especially Chinese constitution, they said the political prisoners, they're not allowed tortures. But the Chinese government, they not respect their own constitution. Then they beat us. Chinese said Chinese constitution, they say they must educate, not beat. But then reality, constitution was just only paper. Reality, then they have not respect their own constitution, then they beat us. Then this is really, I have memory, stay here, my memory, never forget this.
Do you know if the prison is still active?
Yeah, they have many people, most people, political prisoners, really very active. They never give up, stay here. They said one day our country for free. One day they go out, Chinese. But we never give up. All we have united inside prison also. For example, one Tibetan student died, Lakpatri, I think in 1990. And he is a Chinese Tojos. He is the mega organizer in the Tibetan Sinolan youth the movement in Tibet, Lhasa. During 1989, he during the protest, he is a leader for president, this movement for the protest for independence. Then after he is Tojos, he is really very serious injured. Then he go hospital, and the Chinese police hospital, they give poison injection. Then he die. He die, then we are very angry, we are very upset, because doctors say he lips all black. This means they give poison, they killed. And then we have big protests. We come really very united, coming during, they said, now they die, we are some in the, or outside in the American, Europe, human rights in NGO must investigation this case. If also we need Chinese government must change political prisoners, the situation system must change. That's we have make a big protest inside prison also. But we also doing hunger strike in the prison and inside the Tibet prison 1990. And that's we have really all very united, very strong. We never care our debt. We care. We need our country back for freedom. We also need Dalai Lama must return Tibet. That's our mission. That's our dream. Yes.
What was your experience during the hunger strike?
Yeah, one day we doing prison hunger strike, but then the Chinese police army coming inside. They said, stop this hunger strike. If we all die, then there can be big news in the world. That's the Chinese make a stop hunger strike. During that time, they're inside prison.
Do you know if Amnesty International and other NGOs are still active
Yes.
in combating Chinese prisons?
Yes, especially I will know England, Amnesty International England. During our visit and England, Amnesty International interview for me. Amnesty International organized for I give talk for BBC television. Then also I visited 2001, 2003, or I visited Australia. The Australia Amnesty International also make a organized speech. And also I visited for Italy. Italy also Amnesty International is making organized speech. Also 1997, one time I visited United States. Also the American Amnesty International also organized my speech. And they've been very active for sometimes Amnesty International, human rights, more better United Nations. They're more strong, really very focused inside Tibetan people, human rights. Amnesty International and the human rights NGO.
Do you think the United Nations has been effective?
Yes, the last some years ago, United Nations Human Rights High Commission, I think it's people really very good help Tibet. Some UN and United Nations and the Human Rights High Commission, some and the director for some like a leader, he also make a pressure. That's the last I think some months ago. But especially United Nations, most members, I think they have business, economic China. That's the UN, the Chinese pressure. We have need Dalai Lama one day must talk United Nations, because he is one of the world champion in the speaking and the world peace. One day Dalai Lama, UN is must allowed invite for him speech for UN Human Rights Commission also peace and the also environment. That's we need. But UN, it's a continue. It's not allowed Dalai Lama speak for there. But this is our one of the 6 million Tibet people. Our wish one day Dalai Lama must invitation for speak for United Nations. Yeah.
Do many former political prisoners escape to India?
Yes, most they have escaped from India. Then now they live in Australia. But Australia government they give immigration. They live in Australia. Even my friend on my village, Simban village, he also 5 years prisoners. He's go 2 nights. He's go Australia. But this is most Tibetan. They go Australia. The political prisoners. And mostly they also stay here. Many Tibetan start in Tibet. Former political prisoners. They also Chinese government. So many condole these people. They live in some former political prisoners. They live in Tibet. They always send a spy. There was Chinese intelligence agent that's looking for those Tibetan former political prisoners. Yeah.
Are there, have you found Chinese spies here in Dharamshala?
Yes, I think they have many spies, Chinese, because also they know me. Always looking, but I have never stopped. Last 2 weeks ago, I visit from New Delhi for 10th and the 10th Panchen Lama reincarnation, 11th Panchen Lama, Chinese kidnapped 1995. But now our physician, I visit the New Delhi, I own 55 different embassy of physician for campaign for Panchen Lama release, for give my letter for those embassy. And I was thinking there coming many newspaper, TVs come, they interview for me, they know me. Also, of course, they have many spy, Chinese spy, Dharamshala, yes. Because this is a main Tibetan government headquarters. Also, they live in Dalai Lama. Also, many activity people live there.
Do you think the 11th Panchen Lama will ever be released?
I think, yes, he stay in the, I don't know, he stay alive or he stay die, but we don't know. But we have, before I doing for campaign for New Delhi for Chan and those embassy position for release Panchen Lama, I'm telling Tibet people never give up, and we must continue for campaign for him. But now I have campaign for finished Delhi. Now I'm doing campaign for all. I give speech for Tibetan monastery India. I talk for also Tibetan settlement, also talk in Tibetan school. This 11th Panchen Lama situation. Today, 2 o'clock, I give Tibetan translate school, give speech. Tomorrow, I give talk for Tibetan and the TCV school. After I go all the Tibetan settlement and monastery school, I give a talk for Panchen Lama.
Has your family faced consequences from the Chinese government?
Yes, last some years ago, I went to do in the Spanish court lawsuit against for Chinese 5 leader and the lawsuit from Spain. Because one is for me and the one is a Paltin Gyatso, Tibetan former political prisoners. Now he live in Dharamshala. For Paltin Gyatso, me, Tana Jimmy Sango, other one is 5 Tibetan political prisoners we doing and the lawsuit from Spain. Especially Chinese former President Hu Jintao, former President Jiang Zemin, the other 5 chief in Lhasa. These people as the men and the killer Tibetan, men and the genocide Tibetan. Then we're doing lawsuit from Spain. I think the Chinese 25 times they call me police. In Lhasa they call me direct India. This means also I think they make it trouble my parent in Tibet. I am really every day they call me. Sometimes I'm very nervous. I'm nervous because I'm very worried my parent. I don't know what's going on there. They call me 25 times, Chinese police. They call me in Dharamshala. They try to stop for me what I'm doing here. Also they make it pressure, my parents, but I've never stopped. I'm never stopped. If a Chinese come here, I don't care, me. I don't care my bodies. Because I'm Tibetan. This is my responsibility. I'm doing for our country. I don't care my body. If I'm dead, I don't care. I need my country back for one day. I need Dalai Lama returned. They're meeting Dalai Lama for 6 months Tibet people. They're waiting for there. That's what I'm doing for man mission. I don't care for me.
Was it difficult to practice Buddhism in the prison?
No, the prison is not possible for their meditation, no practice. If we pray, they make it so much suffering. But now we have sleep. We pray for memory. Buddhism is not outside. Buddhism is inside church, in its inside. That's what we do in practice. Sometimes we sleep, and we put a blanket over our head. Then we some the prayer, and doing for at the bed. Yes.
You've written 15 books
Yeah.
about your experiences in Tibet's occupation.
Yes.
Which of those books was the most difficult to write?
The most book I wrote, Hell on Earth, my stories. These book I read books. First time I reading, I come first time here, India. I'm really very angry monk because they are torturous prison, suffering every day. And then I also go Dalai Lama teaching. I'm meeting I think 4 times a special meeting Dalai Lama. Then he make me change. He is speak. He talk for me. Then I'm really big change my mind. And then also I read Mahatma Gandhi books. I learn for that. Also Martin Luther King stories. These books on Dalai Lama teaching. This is make me change. But then first time I wrote my book Hell on Earth, my story. I wrote only 3-4 lines. I cry. Sometimes I come in very night, bad dream in the evening. I come in remind this. But this is very hard books I wrote for Hell on Earth. This is my stories. But then after I read this published, it's coming very success, the book. Because the 2 American people come here, Dharamshala. One mother, one daughters, these 2 American. And the name is Rebecca, her mother. Her daughter's name is Lara. They read my book, Hell on Earth. They're very touched. And they say, you must come to America. You must talk at American University. And they make organize, I think, 25 university speech. It's very success. Harvard University, New York University, George Washington University, Boston, and the Minnesota University, Dartmouth College, all different. I give talk 25 university because the books make a very big message in the world. But then the other books also is little more easy. It's not my story. Of course, also touch for me. Even they send me picture here, Dharamshala, inside Tibetan. I collect this all picture. I research, then I publish. Then I print book. I'm going in the embassy, different embassy. I wrote letter. The current situation is more worse, need help. Then also I send those books to many different university library. That's I doing my job, daily life here, Dharamshala.
How long did it take for you to write that book?
The books I work for, the Hell on Earth, almost 1 year I wrote this book. And but the other last my books, I wrote Tibetan history. More than 2 years ago, Chinese they making movie, propaganda movie. They said Tibet is never independent country. Tibet is part of China. They're making that movie. These books are making an answer for Chinese propaganda documentary film. They also Chinese government they wrote white paper. Also they wrote many books, the propaganda books. These I give answer for they wrote truth. My book, yes.
Who was the audience for this propaganda?
Chinese government they publish.
Who do they intend it to be for? Who do they intend to watch these movies?
I see because they show Chinese propaganda TV also come here, broadcast TV. They make it in the Chinese authorities in Tibet, and they put the Chinese propaganda TV. They come direct from Lhasa, come here Dharamshala, because the satellite and it's making connect to this TV broadcast Chinese TV. And this TV, they come to Dharamshala. I watched last 2 years ago, I watched this movie, all movie. Then I think, I must do something. I wrote this truth, this book. That's why I wrote this book for Tibetan history, the book. This is really, now, last year, July, I'm meeting a special meeting Dalai Lama. Then really, he is really like this book. Many Tibetan Lama, many Tibetan students, they like this book. This is I showing Tibetan is never part of China, Tibetan independent country. I want to put here 200 picture. I showing for Tibetan is never part of China, independent country. Proof I show this picture, this book. And this is books for Hell on Earth. This is my stories. This is really I print almost 31,000 books. The people read this book. Many people reading this book. Continue to read this book. That's a very successful book. But now I translation this book, also a translation, and the English language. After a translation, next year I print. Then I send American in the university, like Harvard, then all of this famous university, I send my book. Yes.
Do the Chinese films and books saying that Tibet has always been part of China, do they convince many people outside of China?
Yeah, some people, if they not read truth, they sometimes, but most they don't trust. They don't believe this. They know Chinese government, they are propaganda, they are very lying. They know. But it's a future, I think it's very, sometimes very dangerous. If we not wrote, we're not against this book, those movie, if we not make this against future young, new generation, and there can be research about history. And then they see only Chinese propaganda movie, Chinese propaganda books, and then this is, I think, is dangerous future Tibetan history. That's we must wrote. Chinese are making movie, we against movie, this movie. Chinese wrote books, we must against the Chinese, the book. We must wrote truth. I think we must publish many books, many movie. This is a future, very important. But now it's people not believe for what they're doing in Chinese.
Are there other Tibetans doing what you're doing, writing about Tibetan history?
Yeah, they have some wrote for also the Tibetan government, also they wrote books, also the Tibetan Youth Congress. They have many, some professor they wrote for, also they wrote Tibetan truth. This is very important, they wrote book.
Do you feel anger towards the Chinese?
I'm not, now I have go Dalai Lama teaching, I go many times teaching. I'm not angry for Chinese people. I'm really very upset the Chinese government. They continue, they make a suffering Tibetan people. They continue to destroy their deforestation environment, their population transport China. I'm very upset. They never change Chinese government, making more worse inside Tibet. Even right now, and this is the end of the 21st century. They stay here in the monastery, destroy the Chinese. Look inside Tibet, Sirte, Larunga institutes. This is one of the very large meditation place. They have destruction now. It's very strict Chinese government. This Chinese President Xi Jinping must look for there. He said no, they're making, and the majority people making help him, but nothing helps he. He only helping we own people. Never stop these soldiers. They're killing Tibetan, deforestation. They destroy the monastery. This Chinese authorities, especially Xi Jinping, must look for him. He must stop destroy this monastery, certain institutes now.
What environmental damage is happening in Tibet?
Environment, the Chinese they destroyed. There are lots of mountain. There's so many destruction in mountain. They took gold, diamond. Sometimes also they have other natural resource. Especially also their deforestation stay here now. Right now also their destruction inside Tibet.
So several other Tibetan figures like the Dalai Lama have written books like you have about the struggle. Do you think this Tibetan literature has aided your cause?
Yes, it's very good. These books, for many books, now they have wrote Dalai Lama books, not only political books, also they are spiritual things, also very important books, the spiritual Tibetan. And they wrote many Dalai Lama, they wrote, and some last books they wrote, Beyond the Religious, something like this. This book also helping people in the world, many people, and they read this book. And also Art of Happiness, this book, Dalai Lama book, this is all spiritual things. And one is not spiritual. Beyond the Religious means everybody, people, they need happiness, they need the best life. And this book also helping the people daily life. Political books also, the Dalai Lama books also, Mainland My People, also Freedom Exile. They have very few books, but also very famous. Those books, they with many give help people. Also, especially the books for 7 years Tibet, Hirihara. They also make a movie some years ago, Hollywood. And these books also make a very big and awareness Tibetan issue. And also one of the books for one in India, England soldiers. The soldiers, he wrote books, the book's name, and they captured in Tibet. This he also wrote book, very nice book, and these books also proof for Tibet is now part China, independent country. They're also great book, yes, this book. Yeah.
There is a disagreement among the Tibetan community concerning the question of independence or autonomy. Where do you...
For me, I'm an independent. I don't trust Chinese government. Of course, I respect Dalai Lama general autonomy. He is doing the best for before he passed away. He tried to make it best for Tibetan people, because the Chinese population transport, also Tibetan culture is very, very distorted Chinese government inside. And then also Chinese also 2010, Chinese Department of Education, Communism, they stopped all the school, they don't allow to learn Tibetan language. They're not learn read for Tibetan writing. That's the Chinese government, they have so many control inside. But this is very dangerous inside. This is urgent politics for general autonomy. That's he tried in the best Tibetan people. I'm also respect for general autonomy Tibetan people. Of course, some young people, they need complete independent. They're also doing fight for independent. Also, they're India. Also, there are also some, most of the people also support for general autonomy Tibetan people.
Are you worried about the continuation of Tibetan culture inside Tibet?
Yes, I'm very, very worried, because now is the Chinese government, in the monastery, they have not much learn and educate. Because the monks in the daily lives, it's not focused for their education, their Tibetan Buddhist culture, because they're always the police and the CC cameras for monastery and the rooftop. Also, they're all controlled in the monastery, the monks' daily life. That's I'm really very worried, and the future Tibetan culture, because we learn Tibetan culture, we need a peace life, our life. But they have so many distractions every day, and the Chinese authorities come, they teach re-education and the monastery. Also, they teach against for some Dalai Lama or something like these things. And monk's mind really is not really focused. They learn the culture, and this is the distort, and they learn daily life education. Then also, I'm very worried, because Dalai Lama age come now is 82, almost 82 years old. Then he age come more and more old. Then I don't know what's happening in the future. Yeah.
How have the monasteries changed under occupation?
Monastery life, daily life, and yes, before Tibet independent country, we have nobody not and the destruction monastery monks daily life, nothing. We have very happy life. But now every day Chinese authorities come, they teach re-education, and they give talk, they educate for re-education communism, and also against for Dalai Lama picture, against for this Tibetan government. And this is their really monk daily lives. We have so much on the side, very sad, also suffering our mind. Yeah.
What is the most effective form of resistance against China?
Chinese government against for most
How can you best resist them?
from the, what is this?
How have you found to best fight back?
Fight back China's, yes. I think it's so important to give information to people. But now I give talk, many American student groups I give talk here. 2 days ago, day before yesterday, I also talk to American student groups here. It's very interesting talk. They're not forced. They have suffering, Chinese suffering Tibetan people. They have very difficult life, these people in Tibet. I'm telling day before yesterday, all the students cry. They said, what do we do something now? What do we do? They're asking for me. It's very important to talk now. And also they educate people. This is very important, the Tibetan story. I think they wrote a book, make a movie, and telling people. This is very important.
You've mentioned that you disagree with the Dalai Lama on the question of independence. How do you hold to your beliefs even though they conflict with the Dalai Lama's?
Yes, Dalai Lama spoke. I think he's doing best today. Now he and the talk and non-violent struggle. Also, many Chinese education people, they also respect Dalai Lama. And I think 10 years ago, they had not much coming Chinese people also here. Now, in the 2006, Dalai Lama teaching South India, Amravati, the South India teaching, Kalachara teaching. This is very famous teaching. There coming more than 265 people coming, mainland China. And also 2011, Dalai Lama teaching, more than 1,800 people coming, Chinese people come Dalai Lama teaching. And these people, not Hong Kong people, not Taiwan. This is not Singapore, not Malaysia. This is mainland China. Because they learn more and more, Chinese people learned about Dalai Lama. Also, of course, few people against for Chinese Dalai Lama visit Europe or sometimes visit Americans, very few people. But these people manipulate Chinese embassy pay. Last time, the Chinese president visit Australia. Chinese embassy paid this Chinese student. They give $200. Also, they give also clothes. They are making banner flag against for Tibetan people, against this Dalai Lama. They make a big banner. Because this all the Chinese government pay money. But later this secret come out. Some ask him, Chinese student, they said, what do you do this? And they said, one Chinese girl, Australia, they said, Chinese pay for us $200. They said, you must go there protest. That's very shame. The Western people come and protest. Many supporters, we don't pay these people. Because why these people they support? They support our justice. We have right. They are very wrong. They have illegal occupation in Tibet. Then nothing help Chinese. As it is now, and the Chinese people, they also, since 2008, very large protest inside Tibet. Big protest, all around the Tibetan people protest. That time, I think more than 800 people, Chinese education people wrote for Chinese government. They said they must dialogue. Dalai Lama is like key in the dialogue for Chinese government, for the Tibetan government. They make a peace dialogue for now this, the autonomy something discussed for, because this is many Chinese student, university teacher, the university some professor, they wrote for against Chinese government. And many times the Chinese people come here. Even I'm also sometimes meeting those Chinese people. I talk to my experience in Chinese prison. What is going in Tibet now? Yes, that's the Chinese people also. They are more support. And the last 10 years ago, before now no support, but now they have changed because Dalai Lama's very powerful speech, and his speech is not only Tibet side. He's talking the world peace, and every human being need happiness. Every human being they read right and their right and their freedom, basic human being. Yes.
Do you think you'll ever end your exile and return to Tibet?
Yes, we have big hope. We never give up. But many former political prisoners go Australia, but I not go. They go Australia government, they give citizen, they give the immigration for paper. But I'm not go. I need my people, Dalai Lama, we all go home one day. I'm stay here, continue. I must do something, my country, my people. That's this inside Tibet people sent me here. This is my response, what I'm doing every day. My daily I'm not stay monastery. I stay myself. I research every day. Each picture I collect. The people inside Tibet people sent here. I think this picture is very important. Then I collect, I research this picture. Then I publish book for translation Tibet. Publish Tibetan. Then also translation English. Then I go all the library, those embassy. I give the people. Yes.
What are your hopes for the future of Tibet?
That's one hope. I think this Dalai Lama lifetime, we have big hope. Because now, look, I'm very happy. Dalai Lama, this time he visit American, San Diego. It's very big success. Of course, Dalai Lama visit very success on the traveling. He traveling in the coming more very success traveling. This time we have very surprised. Almost 35,000 people, they listen Dalai Lama speech, American San Diego University. Also they have very big publicity Tibet issue. Also they coming, many Chinese people coming, they listen Dalai Lama teaching and the Dalai Lama speech for this time. We watch for TV news. Yeah, we have very big hope. But inside Tibetan people, especially, 99% they don't believe anymore Chinese propaganda. They don't trust anymore Chinese government. They really, 99% of Tibetan people, they have focused Dalai Lama for Tibetan government. That's they have think this is our leader, this is our government here. Not Chinese, they not respect anymore. That's we have big hope.
The Text Project would like to thank you for your time. It has been an honor for us, and we've learned a lot from your experience. We hope to make our recording of your story available for future generations to learn from. Again, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Please, you support us. We need continued support, and the American people. For me, I'm also forced the American people. They teach me Tibetan history. They give me Dalai Lama book, Mainland people. This is open my eye, open my heart, and they I learn first. This is a true American is like my history teacher. They really, 1991, American President George Bush, he meeting Dalai Lama. Then also President Clinton meeting. Then also their meeting for President Obama. Then also meeting George W. Bush. But we hope meeting very soon. And the Donald Trump, he meeting Dalai Lama, and we need to continue U.S. government and the support Tibet, also American also. Our wish, we big hope Tibetan people, especially American, will look in help Tibetan cause. Yeah, thank you so much. You come interview for me today. Thank you. Thank you.